Maybe no one ever told you this, not clearly, not compassionately, but there's a silent weight many carry when trying to manifest the life they desire. It's the weight of doing everything right, visualizing, affirming, journaling, meditating, and ainda sim, feeling like nothing truly changes. Deep inside, something still aches, something still doubts. And that ache, that silent question, what am I doing wrong, begins to whisper louder than all your affirmations combined. It's not your fault, and you are not broken. But there is a truth, one that often hides behind promises of instant manifestation and effortless abundance. The truth is, there's a hidden war happening within you, a war between what your conscious mind declares and what your subconscious truly believes, between what you say you want and what your body has been conditioned to fear. Dr. Bruce Lipton, in his groundbreaking work on epigenetics, revealed something profound. Your biology is not a slave to your genes, but to your perceptions. And those perceptions are not housed in your thoughts alone, but in the vibrational memory of your entire being. So when you set an intention, when you speak a desire into the universe, if your body doesn't feel safe with that vision, it won't align with it. It can't, because vibrationally, it still sees that desire as a threat, as something unfamiliar, as something that contradicts the emotional programming of years, sometimes decades, of survival-based beliefs. This is where the law of attraction quietly begins to corrode, not because it doesn't work, but because most people are trying to manifest from the mind alone, from thought alone, from want alone. But as Joe Dispenza often reminds us, it's not enough to think a new reality into being. You must feel it, live it, embody it, in your heart, in your breath, in your nervous system. The electromagnetic field of the heart, more powerful than that of the brain, becomes the language the quantum field responds to. But what happens when that heart is filled with fear, doubt, or desperation, masked by positive thinking? What signal is being broadcast then? Positive thoughts may fill the surface, but if your body is contracting, if your chest tightens every time you repeat, "I am abundant," then that thought is not a frequency. It's noise, vibrational noise. And the field, the intelligent, reflective field that is life itself, responds not to what you want, but to what you are being. So before you judge yourself, before you declare that manifesting just doesn't work for you, I invite you to pause, to breathe, to feel, because perhaps the issue is not your desire, but the incoherence between your mind and your body, between your spiritual knowing and your biological programming. And the beautiful, liberating truth, that incoherence can be healed. That gap can be bridged. You can learn to vibrate safety, not fear. You can recondition your system to recognize your desires not as fantasies, but as realities already on their way. But for that, you'll need to go deeper, beyond thought, beyond willpower, into the quiet space where your beliefs are stored and where your true power waits. If this message is reaching you, if something in these words is echoing in your chest, then you're exactly where you need to be. This space was created for souls like yours, sensitive, deep, searching not just for answers, but for meaning. And if that's you, I invite you to stay with us. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, not just to follow, but to belong, to be reminded again and again that you are not alone on this journey. And in the comments below, tell me, where in the world are you watching from? Not just the country, but the emotional place. Are you watching from a season of loss, of hope, of quiet rebuilding? Your voice matters here. Let it be heard. There's a quiet ache hidden behind many spiritual routines, a kind of exhaustion that doesn't always show on the outside, but lives in the repetition. You sit with your affirmations, you speak them out loud, you write them again and again. I am enough, I am abundant, I am healed. But inside, your body doesn't believe you. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because something deeper has not yet shifted. This is a pain that rarely gets named. The pain of trying so hard to change your life while still feeling trapped in the same emotional patterns. The pain of hoping that the next affirmation, The next full moon ritual, the next visualization might finally be the one, but waking up with the same sense of lack, of fear, of waiting, and slowly, silently, something begins to fracture. Your trust in yourself, your trust in the process, your trust in the universe. What if I told you that this isn't failure, that this isn't a sign of weakness or spiritual immaturity? It's a sign of protection, a sign that your subconscious, the part of you that Bruce Lipton reminds us governs 95% of your decisions and behaviors, is still trying to keep you safe. Safe in the familiar, safe in the old emotional maps, even if they hurt. Because to the subconscious, familiar often means safe, even if that familiarity is anxiety, scarcity, self-doubt. When mantras become a shield rather than a bridge, when they are used to cover pain rather than meet it, they lose their power. They become spiritual noise, not because words don't matter, but because the energy behind the words is what the body listens to. And if that energy is fear disguised as hope, the subconscious will feel the fear first. It's here that the visualization, the vision boards, the beautiful intentions can turn into something addictive, a way to escape the present moment instead of transforming it. You close your eyes to imagine the life you long for, not as a vibration to embody, but as a place to hide from the one you're living now. And the body knows. The body always knows. So the question isn't, am I visualizing enough? The question is, do I feel safe in my own desire? Because if the desire still feels like a threat, if it still triggers anxiety, unworthiness, or grief, then the body will not let it in, not yet. And this is not your fault. This is simply where your healing begins. There's a deep difference between thinking something and truly believing it. And most of us were never taught this. We were told to repeat phrases, to think positively, to focus on the outcome. But what no one explained is that belief doesn't live in the mind alone. It lives in the cells. It lives in the way your body reacts before your mind can form a sentence. Bruce Lipton, in his profound research on epigenetics, showed us that our biology responds not just to chemicals or genes, but to perception. And perception is not just what you see with your eyes. It's what your nervous system has come to accept as truth. That means your body is responding right now to what you emotionally believe is possible, not to what you say is possible. You may repeat, "I am loved," but if your breath shortens every time someone gets close, your body doesn't believe it. You may write, "I am abundant," but if your chest tightens at the sight of a bill, your biology still holds scarcity as truth. And this dissonance, this gap, is not weakness. It's programming. Belief, real belief, is the result of repetition, but not just mental repetition, emotional repetition, sensory repetition. You need to feel it. You need to experience it in your being, again and again, until it becomes your body's new normal. This is where the science of neuroplasticity meets spiritual transformation. The brain, yes, can rewire, but it rewires not just with thought, it rewires with emotion, with presence, with consistency, and the body follows, slowly, quietly, faithfully. It begins to respond not to the memory of pain, but to the new imprint of possibility. That's why manifestation is not about convincing the universe. It's about convincing your biology. It's about aligning your entire system with a new vibrational truth, one that doesn't live only in your mind, but moves through your breath, your posture, your tone of voice, your smallest choices. That's coherence. And when that coherence begins, even in the smallest ways, something shifts. Not outside, inside. You begin to feel a new kind of safety, a new kind of permission, and the universe, which reflects not what you ask for, but what you hold, begins to respond, not because it heard your words, but because it recognized your frequency. You don't manifest what you repeat. You manifest what your cells have learned to expect. And the good news is, they can learn something new. There's an urgency that creeps in when we want something deeply, especially when life has denied us that thing for too long. You might not say it out loud, but the energy behind the desire becomes a kind of silent plea. Please let it happen now. I've waited long enough. And in that subtle tension, in that quiet desperation, something essential is lost. Because the quantum field, by that intelligent responsive matrix described by both ancient wisdom and modern science, does not hear your words. It feels your frequency. And anxious desire, no matter how well-intentioned, carries the energy of absence, of not having, of lack. You may envision your dream life with clarity. You may script every detail of what you want to experience. But if, inside, your body still vibrates urgency, still contracts with doubt, still fears it won't happen, the signal sent out is incoherent. Like trying to tune into a radio station through static, the message is blurred. The manifestation becomes delayed. According to quantum physics, reality responds to wave patterns, to frequencies. And those frequencies collapse into matter, not through force, but through alignment. When your emotional state contradicts your mental focus, the wave doesn't collapse clearly. The field doesn't know what to reflect, so it mirrors back the inconsistency, the hesitation, the conflict. This is why wanting too much can become its own sabotage. Not because desire is wrong, but because behind that intense desire is often a belief that what you want is still far away, still not yours, still unreachable. And the field, ever faithful, responds to that belief. Bruce Lipton reminds us that chronic stress, even subtle, even spiritualized, creates biological resistance. It floods the body with survival chemicals that block access to creation, to intuition, to trust. The body in stress does not expand. It protects, it closes, it defends. And no matter how clear your vision is, a body in defense cannot receive. So if you've been manifesting from a place of hurry, of tightness, of emotional pressure, pause, not as punishment, but as mercy. Because manifestation, real manifestation, is not speed, it is presence. It is the slow, sacred unfolding of coherence between what you ask and what you already are. The most magnetic energy in the universe is not desperation, it's certainty, not urgency, but embodiment, and you can begin to return to that gently right here. Sometimes the greatest transformation begins not with what you gain, but with what you stop chasing. A quiet, sacred shift happens when you release the need for proof outside and start cultivating coherence within. This is where the journey turns inward, where the work becomes invisible and yet deeply powerful. Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe Dispenza, though from different scientific paths, point to the same truth. The body must feel safe in a new emotional state before the external world can mirror it. It's not enough to think differently. You must vibrate differently. But how do you change your frequency when everything around you still looks the same? When the same fears still knock on your door each morning? It starts with awareness, not of thoughts, but of sensations. Every belief, every emotion has a signature in the body. Maybe fear sits in your chest. Maybe doubt lives in your stomach. Maybe unworthiness contracts your shoulders. Identifying the physical pattern of the old emotion is the first step, because once you notice it, you stop being it. Then comes the interruption, not by force, not by denial, but by vivid conscious imagination. Your subconscious mind does not distinguish between a real experience and one that is deeply felt through imagery. When you close your eyes and truly see yourself, feel yourself, embodying a new state of being, your body begins to record that experience as real. It becomes a new reference point, a new vibrational anchor. And from there, you anchor that feeling into small, symbolic actions. Not dramatic rituals, not waiting for a sign, but consistent, intentional gestures that whisper to your nervous system, this is safe, this is allowed. The way you breathe, the way you walk, the tone in your voice, the way you pour your tea or speak your name. These small acts, done with presence and feeling, begin to create a new emotional home, because frequency is not changed through intensity. It is changed through repetition, through gentle, consistent coherence. You don't need the world to change first. You need your inner world to feel different first. And when that inner world becomes steady, when your body begins to expect peace instead of tension, trust instead of fear, the quantum field responds. not because you forced it, but because you became it, not because you proved yourself, but because you returned to yourself. You change your frequency not by waiting for evidence, but by becoming the evidence. And life, in its deep and quiet wisdom, reflects that back to you with time, always with time. There is a sacred principle hidden in the heart of every true manifestation. The universe doesn't give you what you ask for. It mirrors what you continue to embody when no one is watching, not what you desire with intensity, but what you hold with consistency. And this is perhaps one of the most misunderstood truths in the spiritual path. It's easy to feel aligned for a few moments during meditation. It's natural to feel hopeful when you're writing affirmations or lighting candles of intention. But what happens in the quiet? What lives in your breath when the day ends and your mind is tired? What energy lingers in your body when you think no one, not even the universe, is paying attention? This is the vibration that shapes your reality, not the performance of positivity, but the authenticity of your inner state, the habits, the patterns, the silences, and in this silence, your truth speaks loudest. Neville Goddard once said, "You must become the state, not desire the state." And that single sentence reveals everything, because to desire is to place something outside of you. To become is to bring it home. And the quantum field, that vast, intelligent, timeless, responds not to the noise of want, but to the resonance of being. Imagine the field as a mirror with no concept of time. It doesn't know past or future. It reflects now, only now. And what you sustain, emotionally, energetically, vibrationally, becomes your signal, not just in moments of ritual, but in the mundane, in the way you sit, in the way you breathe, in the way you hold space for yourself when life disappoints you again. Even the energy you radiate when you give up, that too is a manifestation, because often it is the most honest frequency we carry, and the field does not judge, it responds. So ask gently, what do I sustain when I stop trying? What emotion becomes my default when I'm no longer doing the work? Because that emotion, that vibration, is what is currently creating your world. And this is not a message of blame. It is a message of awareness, of compassion. Because once you see it, once you truly see what you're sustaining, you are no longer trapped by it. You can begin to shift, not by force, but by choice, slowly, tenderly, in the quiet places where real transformation lives. What if manifestation was never meant to be a performance of the mind, but a reunion between your biology and your soul? What if the real miracle wasn't the thing you attracted, but the coherence you created inside yourself while waiting? Dr. Bruce Lipton reminds us that your biology is not just a passive vessel, it is a vibrational recorder, a living antenna. It listens, not to your thoughts, but to your emotional truth. Every cell in your body is shaped not by what you hope, but by what you believe deeply, consistently, unconsciously. And those beliefs are not rewritten through force. They are rewritten through repetition, emotional, sensory, embodied repetition. Neville Goddard called this process naturalization, the moment when a desire is no longer something you wish for, but something you feel as already yours. Not mentally, but vibrationally. You no longer hope. You remember. You no longer chase. You align. Because the quantum field, this sacred, ever-responsive matrix, doesn't respond to effort. It responds to coherence. When your mind thinks one thing, your heart feels another, and your body fears a third. The signal is scattered. But when all three speak the same language, when your thoughts, feelings, and physical presence say, "This is who I am," then creation becomes inevitable. This is not magic. It is spiritual biology. It is quantum science. It is emotional alchemy. And it is available, not to those who try harder, but to those who go deeper. So before you manifest again, ask yourself gently, does my body already recognize this desire as safe, real, and possible? Not as a hope, not as a fantasy, but as a felt truth. And if the answer is still no, that's not failure. That's the beginning. Begin there, and the universe, faithful as ever, will begin with you. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, if you felt seen, softened, or simply more understood, then stay close. This space was created for moments like this, for souls in transition, for hearts that feel too much, for minds that are learning to quiet down and listen within. So if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, not out of habit, but as an act of self-care, of remembering that you're not walking this path alone. And in the comments, I would love to know, what part of this message touched you most deeply? Was there a sentence, a moment, a truth that your body felt before your mind even understood? Your voice belongs here. Let it be felt.